Hello and welcome to a fresh new episode of Foodocracy for Her. I'm your host, Kalyan Karmakar, and Foodocracy for Her is a podcast dedicated to women in the F&B industry in India. It's a one of its type. It's a winning podcast, but that's not what I've come here to tell you. I'm introducing our guest, Jasleen Marwah, a dear friend of ours, and who's actually making her second appearance in Foodocracy for Her. So thanks for coming back.
My
Sometimes it's
pleasure,
difficult to get
Karan.
people to come for the first time and you come back. So that's a great thing.
Uh,
But there's a lot happening in our life. So Jasleen's, born in Delhi, then grown up in her formative years in Srinagar, then moved across the country, including for education. And I think you were in Pune, right, before you moved into Bombay?
no, no, Delhi. I moved from Delhi. So I
Okay,
was in
Delhi,
that north zone and then
uh, yeah,
finally moved here.
Mumbai, and now Mumbai has become
Mumbai is
home.
home. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mumbai is a city where I've lived
yeah,
the most of
yeah.
my life now.
Same here. I mean,
Uh,
for me, till sometime back, it was more Calcutta than Mumbai, but now Mumbai is.
Mumbai
In fact,
wins hands
nowadays,
down.
sometimes I speak to people who, like, when I say I've been in Mumbai for 27 years, they often are people who are younger than that. So it gets a bit embarrassing.
We should just
But
say now, Kalyan, most of our lives, maximum part of our.
yes,
Like, I think,
yes,
should we
yes.
say half my life? No.
Yeah. मेरा भी half ही है. Yeah, actually half. Yes. No. Yeah.
Oh,
Anyway, so
yes.
so let's move on before we reveal our ages. I mean, you're of course young, but so Jasleen's life is very interesting because she was in media, in production houses. She produced her own film for Netflix. Then she flirted around with the idea of doing pop-ups around Kashmiri food. At FBI Awards, for example, at the event, I remember trying a tabak mas, and there was also lovely kebab you made. You'd also done some pop-up events in your house and stuff. Then the pandemic and lockdown happened, and you launched Namak as a serious home chef business with weekend on weekend menus, and then got into the catering space, which focused on Kashmiri food. And then it's not so new now, but now you have a restaurant, in Fort. So before I come into Folk, I just want to give a bit of people a bit of an idea of and you've been a home chef, then you've opened a restaurant, so you're obviously into food a lot. So when did this interest in food start?
So I remember shifting to Bombay, Kalyan, and moving finally into a shared apartment and realizing that I did not know how to cook even a simple dal.
Mm.
That's when I had to get into the whole cooking scene. I had to call up my mom and say, how come I don't know even how to cook a simple dal? I know how to bake a cake,
Uh,
make a sandwich, but I wanted to suddenly eat ghar ka rajma chawal. And the craving for home food started the more you are away from home. So I told my mom, I don't even know how to make dal. So my roommate at that time is the one who actually, I think was my introduction to basic food cooking 101. I learned how to cook dal, rajma, chawal, her style, but I understood the basics from there. That's where cooking started. And then I started cooking what I wanted to eat. Like if
because a
rajma.
lot of people whom I've interviewed have said that we've grown up cooking, or so nothing like that. So it's not
Nothing
that
like
you
that.
have to
I
be
think
cooking from 10 years of
I
age
don't
to
think so. Yeah, I think you're thrown into cooking sometimes.
at some point.
So
Yeah, I think even when
yeah,
I got married, we started
uh,
cooking. Yeah. So,
also I think my parents thought that we were in that phase where they thought that we should not force that onto the girl child. It was that
hmm,
time where ladki ko padhao likhao apne
hmm,
pair pe
hmm,
khada karo. So
hmm,
that was
hmm,
more important, and they thought
hmm,
that let's not. We didn't
hmm,
go into that zone where only when we would say we want to bake a cake, something
hmm.
fancy. We experimented with all that fancy zone, but nothing serious. I mean, not even a cup of tea was told कि एक cup का चाय बना के लाओ,
Hmm.
not even that. So it was, the focus was on that, let them learn and be able to stand on their feet.
Hmm.
So I think it was just out of sheer necessity that the basic cooking started then in Bombay.
But just in case people are wondering who are these people walking behind you, where are you right now?
So I'm at the restaurant. We are at Fork. So I
Huh.
can show you around also. So the kitchen is
Yeah,
at the
why don't you
back.
do that?
That's the
Yeah,
kitchen door. So that's why
okay.
you
Yeah.
can't not get
Uh,
out of the kitchen door in a
yeah, that's the most
restaurant.
important place. Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah, and then the entrance is opposite you and stuff.
yes.
Yeah. Okay, so you started learning from your PG mate and stuff, shared apartment mate. But then, how did your your awareness of Kashmiri cooking, which is your home cooking, how did that start, or how did you go about that?
So once I had a kitchen that actually I could properly cook in, and then I started cooking what I wanted to cook. And then came Kashmiri, because even though I had not cooked it, I had grown up eating it. My mom
Mm,
made, my dad made. For the little bit of time that we were in Kashmir, we were treated by our neighbors, Kashmiri food, and it was a novelty for us. I mean, my sister and I think we preferred that over any homemade food. So that
mm,
little katori or vati, as they say here, of food that came in from the neighbors or the landlords, which was a Kashmiri food, even a basic sabji like beans, was very, very precious for both of us. So that taste for that food, and because that became comfort food and most loved. So I started cooking that when I had proper kitchen and proper job and everything and family. Finally, I settled in Bombay. So
but
that's when the
I remember
yeah.
you telling me about your calling your mom, saying, "Help me with this, how help me with that, how to cook."
Yeah. And not that my mom was a, very good cook also, because she had also picked it up from our neighbors and stuff, because she knew we loved to eat it.
Uh,
So she was not from Kashmir. My dad is a Kashmiri Sardar. So he knew
hmm,
everything about food, but men don't cook that much, right? So mom
yeah.
wanted to pick up things. She was interested. She had done home science. So she
Hmm.
has this handwritten recipe book where she has different kinds of food, ranging from desserts to everything, which she has learned, which she still refers to. So again, the Kashmiri dishes she picked up because we loved eating them, and they may not be perfect, but they tasted good enough
They
to for
tasted
us.
good to you. Yeah.
Yeah. So those are the recipes I started with initially, but then I perfected them once I had to cook professionally.
Yeah, I remember you're talking about your going back to Kashmir and working with,
Hmm.
the ladies and aunties there to get your
Yeah.
kebab shapes correct, the
Yeah.
kanti correct, and
Yeah, yeah.
all of
So
that,
while I knew the correct taste, I did not know the other technical aspects
how
of
to
the dish.
reach it. Yeah.
शेप क्या होता है, कैसे होना
Mm,
चाहिए,
mm,
ये क्यों
mm,
डालते हैं, ये क्यों नहीं डालते हैं,
mm,
मतलब Kashmiri ingredients are so little and so basic that when I started cooking initially, I was like, इतने में बन जाएगा, मतलब इतने में इतना अच्छा taste कैसे
mm,
आएगा.
mm,
So
mm,
initially I was
mm.
also putting in more ingredients just to
Yeah.
make my food tasty. Bit
Mm,
by bit, when I kept making one dish repetitively, I realized I started removing one ingredient after the other, and I
uh,
started getting confidence कि हाँ इसको हटाने से कुछ नहीं हुआ, maybe उसका दूसरा flavor profile better हो गया. So
mm.
then I understood that yes, those four ingredients are the ones that are creating that magic, and no need to fear the fact that you're putting in just char masale, no adrak, lasan, pyaz, tomato. That is the fun part, and that is what is creating the magic, the removal of those extra ingredients.
I remember speaking to Chef David Thompson recently when I was at Fire back in Goa, and he's this very
Uh,
veteran Thai chef. So he's been working with the Indian team over there, and
mm,
and he has chefs who worked in Thai restaurants in India.
mm,
So he said
mm.
the first thing when you learn a cuisine is to first unlearn what you did. So in your case, you have to unlearn.
Yeah. So I had to
So
tell myself
yeah,
कि ये it's not necessary that this dish
mm,
requires dhania
yeah,
powder or lasan or adrak. So
yeah.
you're right. You're absolutely right. You have to just create a blank slate and just trust. Okay, what has been working works like that.
So then you started, like I said, flirting with, doing some pop-ups at home
Hmm.
and with this thing.
Yeah,
So, what was the initial motivation for you to try this? Because at that time, it was probably not something you were looking at doing long term or
yeah,
seriously.
for sure.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So,
I never
what?
knew that there would be some kind of space for somebody who was only a home cook, only cooked something specific, not everything, and people would pay attention or have any interest. So
Hmm.
I was wrong about everything. Firstly, home cooks became really, started getting attention. They started being looked up to because they had access and they had knowledge and skill set which just focused
Which
on a
year was
certain.
this? Which
It
year
was
was this?
2016
So that's
because
when the transition was happening. Yeah.
yeah, 2016 is when the attention was also moving to home
Hmm.
chefs via a
Hmm.
lot of dining platforms.
Hmm.
So we
Hmm.
could see something like, home dining, and we were wondering, like, wow, you're
Hmm.
making the restaurant space shift to the home space. How would that
Hmm.
work? Was a big
Hmm.
question. How would you let strangers into a
Hmm.
home space? Was, a
Hmm.
fear.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
it was just a moment of doing that first home dining thing, and
Hmm.
everybody who came in was either a big foodie, was curious about the space, was curious about Kashmiri food, or was dying to have Kashmiri food and had no access to it in the city. So
And
it was,
actually, where you stay for normal non-Bombayites is
yeah.
a bit away from the radius, the city hub.
Hmm,
I
hmm,
mean, it's a
hmm,
big residential area, but
hmm.
a lot of people who would eat would have to sort of travel there. So you were seeing
Make,
people
yeah, from
from,
all over.
and
Yeah.
Bombay people don't like to travel.
Yeah. So
So
I think the good part was that the food traveled everywhere also to them. So they didn't mind
yeah,
that. So
yeah.
Bombay is really huge. And
And how
where
was
I
it cooking
stay,
in front of
suburbs.
people? Like in the FBI event at St. Regis, I think you were
Yeah,
cooking
the
and
home chefs event
yeah,
of
yeah, yeah,
FBI.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that
During
that was a big
lunchtime.
that's a big deal because firstly you're in a property that's
Ah,
um
St. Regis, like
yeah,
mm.
so that, and then an event where all the foodies would come in, food experts like you would come in. So you're like
I'm
super
eating
nervous
expert.
also.
I'm
Huh?
eating expert. Good food.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you get to talk to, you meet them, and you're
Mm,
showcasing your food, and you're
mm,
still very nervous because you've just started. You don't know how they'll react and how will you be able to explain or justify. So all those things, I think, were the initial bit of that played on my mind initially. I mean, I think that goes through everybody's mind when they
yeah,
start.
something new. So then the lockdown happened, and I remember us talking about you're getting into a bit of a psychological funk about because of being cut off from everyone, as well as
Yeah,
even looking at practicalities and sustenance and all of
yeah.
that. And then
Hmm.
you launched the home chef thing with
Hmm.
Namak, and I remember at
Hmm.
that point there was no access to mutton, so you had to do with chicken initially, which is you
Yeah, I
know
started with chicken Rogan
I know,
Josh, right?
which is not very Kashmiri, but you have to make do with what's there till I know you
Uh,
got a mutton supplier, and then you became
yeah,
quite consistent, like weekly menus and then private
yeah. Then
dining.
from the weekend, I think I was cooking every day
And
suddenly.
then private dining and
Yeah,
catering.
yeah.
So
Birthdays,
yeah. So looking
everything.
back at those days, sometimes we don't want to look back at those days because this thing. But what are the nice memories which have stayed back with you, or the learning experiences which have stayed back to
I
you?
think I was just taken back by the response of people because Instagram had taken over kind of, but I never knew that people who followed me were really serious, audience. Like
Mm,
I was like,
mm,
yes, I have so many followers, and if I open
mm,
a menu on Instagram, I mean, does that even make sense? Like,
mm,
who would
mm,
notice? Maybe one or two of my friends would, but
mm,
how would I
mm,
sustain that? What was the other medium of, even telling people that I was taking orders
mm,
suddenly,
mm,
you know?
mm,
But I was just taken by surprise because the response was tremendous and it kept on going. And not only was the food appreciated, but people actually, it filled in a gap during that lockdown between people trying to order in not from restaurants, but they trusted the home chefs more. So we
mm,
kind of also filled in that trust gap that
mm,
this food was safe to eat.
Yeah,
So,
and it was not just about trust or say someone you
mm,
know either personally, like in our case, or through social media and following this thing.
mm.
It was just good food. I mean, in your case, like it was
So
delicious
I
food.
still
So,
was,
yeah,
I think I was still justifying that part, you know, it had not
yeah.
sunk in that it was just my food,
So did
you
you
know.
have repeat orders and all of that?
Yeah.
I think
And
that's the
till
biggest.
date, you know, Kalyan Folk,
Hmm.
it's been a year, Folk has opened, and every second day somebody walks in who tells me I've eaten your food in lockdown. Yeah, that just gives me goosebumps. Like, I don't even
Yeah,
know their face. We've never met. We've had a
yeah.
phone call maybe and lots of
Hmm.
messages on Insta, and they just walk
Hmm.
in and saying that, you know, I've eaten your food in lockdown.
I remember, I think end of last year you did a Kashmiri festival at Intercontinental
Yeah,
Hotel. Yeah,
last monsoon.
yeah.
Yeah.
How was that experience? Like
That was very good because
working in a hotel.
yeah, it was quite good because you see this those are our chances to enter a professional kitchen, you know. Once in a
Mm-hmm.
while those pop-ups allow us to enter and see how an actual kitchen functions and what do people do and how do they assign jobs, and you know, uh, new ideas coming out of the same dish. Like if I'm making something, you know, the executive chef would tell me that, you know, why don't we serve it that way? Or if I'm stuck at an issue, even in my own personal kitchen, if I'm struggling with a thing, when I bounce it off with them, you get an idea of how to problem solve it because of that expertise coming in. So it's always a great learning experience. And also you get to meet your diner's face, you know, face to face. Like I remember
And
you telling me that you wanted to have garam garam khana, not out of a
yeah,
box,
yeah,
but
yeah,
on
yeah,
a
yeah.
plate. Remember?
Yes, yes. Without my having to take it out of plastic boxes, a bit
Yeah,
lazy that way.
yeah.
Sometimes our past experience also comes into use. So you often say that your media experience has production experience has also helped in food house. I mean, I know that during production, a lot of thought goes into the afternoon meal and the caterer and all of that. But that apart, how did it?
That is just 1%. In production, you are Kalyan problem solving from morning to night. All the
Uh,
problems are brought to you, and
uh,
food is the least bit of them, unless it's the actor, you know,
uh,
your cast and
एक्टर तो अभी
uh,
घर से डब्बा बना के आता है ग्लूटेन फ्री ये फ्री फूड
yeah,
फ्री
thank God,
क्रॉस
thank
फ्री
God for that. They have their own private chefs
या
now, you know.
या
Best thing to happen to
so
production walas.
yeah, sorry, what you were
So
saying
yeah,
that
so it's
learning.
production is all about, you know, being an executive producer or being in production is all about problem solving, you know.
Hmm.
So basically you're facilitating a shoot so that everything goes well. So whatever is not going well is what you're handling at the moment, you know.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so I think that working in all aspects of making one final film. So when
Hmm.
one film is made, you know, there are many departments. So
Hmm.
in the same way, when you're running a restaurant, there are many departments and you're just taking care of all of them and problem solving so that your guest is happy in the end. That's your aim, right?
And all creative people. So someday your kebabchi might say that, okay, that's it, I've done it, or So it's all the create. And in your case, like you're both creative as well as the producer because you're the chef and the owner. Okay, before I
Yeah.
get into folk, just tell me a bit
Hmm.
about Namak and where is
Hmm.
it, which is your Kashmiri specialty sort of thing. So where are things on Namak?
So Namak, see, I've started focusing more on what I had eaten while I was growing up, and that was mostly home food. So when
Hmm.
you go to Kashmir, the first thing you hear in terms of food is the Vazwan, which is the celebratory meal, which is very,
Hmm.
very lavish, meat centric,
Hmm.
and mostly cooked when you're celebrating, whether it's a marriage or a get together or festivity.
And then
Uh,
there's a Pandit Vaswan and the
and then there's
Muslim.
and then there's a difference between both the cuisines, the Pandit cuisine and the Vazwan.
Muslim.
So the Pandit cuisine is more home food, but there are many. The basic difference between the cooking aspect is that they don't use onion and garlic, the Pandits,
Oh, but
and while the
but do they
Kashmir
have meat?
they
They
have
have
meat.
meat.
They
Okay,
have
meat,
meat,
but without onion garlic.
but without
Okay.
onion. Meat, because of the temperature and the
Ah,
climate and the zone that they're in, they
ah, ah,
it kind of became a necessity.
ah. Hmm,
But no onion and garlic, and
hmm,
that makes it even more. It's the cuisine stands out even more because then they depend on asafoetida, hing, and
hmm,
again your sun, saunf, and your Kashmiri lal mirch. So, like I said,
hmm.
these 4 5 ingredients and mustard oil creates all the magic and all the difference between even the two. You can call them genres, like in a film of one industry.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
while I grew up eating that, so I started making that, and that was even more unique because you don't have access to pandit food or to home style Kashmiri
Yes,
food. So
yes, yes.
sabzis like beans, like lauki, like paneer cooked in just milk,
Hmm.
uh, you know, uh, dried vegetables. These all will you will not see immediately when you go to even a restaurant in Kashmir.
That's a winter thing, no? I remember you telling
The
me for an
dried
article,
haq.
the dried vegetable, for an
Uh,
article which had written on winter foods, you told me.
yeah. So
Yes,
in
yes.
summers, you dry all the vegetables like tomato and all that.
Hmm,
Even haq is dried, and then in
hmm,
winters you kind of use them. So you
hmm,
use them in combination with your meat or just as is,
hmm,
and they taste even better because they get this meaty texture.
hmm.
The dry this thing. Yeah, the dishes that stand out when I started cooking was the Rogan Josh, Kashmiri Pandit style, because it has
So,
no
so
onion and
different.
garlic.
Yeah, yeah.
Then mutts is the mutton koftas. Uh,
Hmm,
that were my favorite dish when I was growing up.
yeah,
So
yeah. I
that was
loved
the
it
first
too.
thing I
Hmm,
mastered. Then tabakmas is actually a Vazwan dish, but I was very curious about the dish because it's a very
hmm,
technical dish because
hmm,
of the cut
hmm,
of the meat, the
hmm,
part of the meat, and then how you boil it and the salt. It should be well salted, almost cured. It's like almost
hmm.
cured,
Wow.
and then it's just pan fried, so no ingredients as such, but just the whole technical aspect of it, of boiling the meat with the fat, the ribs and everything, doing the salt to perfection, and then just pan frying it in ghee. So it's just that dish blows my mind because of its simplicity and yet the outcome every time.
I'm,
You've
I'm, I'm,
eaten
I'm
that.
yeah, I'm salivating and hoping that people can't see me drool because I'm, no, so when I was hearing you speak, I was thinking that it's so different from people's assumptions of Indian food, which is both spice and masala dalo. But
Huh.
I mean, you've done the food of different regions. It's not really that. So are you focusing now on your home style food in Namak? Is that what you're
So
saying?
that's what people know me by, but then
Hmm.
I'm every time I'm just opening my mind to other things, whatever is happening, even what can be created out of these things in combinations, like you said, intercontinental pop-up. Now there we had to present starters. We in India we don't have concept of starters. There's pakoda,
Hmm.
there's chai, there's nashta,
Hmm.
but starters is not something that exists. We always
Yeah.
create starters from what we
Yeah.
can.
Yes.
So like we had to create starters there. So if you get a catering order, people always ask for starters. So
Hmm.
that's something, then you have to use your creativity and stay within the flavor profile and create
Hmm.
something that people can eat like a starter.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that is something you have to keep developing on, new
Hmm.
things, new ideas, new ingredients. And then the cuisine never stops. Like you always hear of something suddenly, oh, this is also there, and then you want to learn about that, you want to make that, you want to make people taste it. So it just keeps on going on and on and on.
So what format does Namak exist on now? Is it like is it like you can place individual orders, or is it like house catering, larger catering? So in what form does
So,
Namak exist now?
so now it's mostly larger catering, just food delivery also. Food
Hmm.
delivery for a group or for house parties or just
Minimum
for a
minimum what
weekend.
size? What's a minimum size?
See, it depends. It depends because if I can, then I cook for 4 to 5 people also. And if I can't, then I apologize. And we switch it to a day where I'm cooking it again. And then I reach out to them saying, would
Hmm.
they like to have it that day? So I club certain orders and make it a bigger order so that we
Hmm.
send it out to a few people. But
And
otherwise, if there's a
maximum?
big,
Maximum?
now we've done weddings. I've done a wedding. We've done a
Indian
birthday
wedding.
last. Oh, we did a birthday party in December for
Huh.
200, 250 in Belgaum. That
Wow.
was
Wow.
huge, and it was only
So you
15
actually
days.
went to Karnataka and and
Yeah,
over
yeah.
there did the whole thing. Wow.
That was crazy because the language was different. People had no idea what this food is, and we needed vendors who could support us in terms of technical. Like we had to set up a kitchen base. We needed ingredients. Then the service trust staff had to be told what they're serving. So that was crazy because it was just start telling people ABCD of this new
Uh,
cuisine.
yeah,
So
well, I think this would be like your first steps towards like going to international markets and doing Kashmiri food. Maybe you don't know,
fingers
maybe
crossed.
in France or Venezuela or wherever.
Yeah.
Okay, now tell me about folk. How
Hmm.
did that happen? And also, like, there were two things about folk. One is like a home chef opening a restaurant, which I've not really come across. Except, I mean, there are restaurants which have been opened by home cooks, but
Hmm.
your breed or genre of home chefs, they have not really opened restaurants. So that's one. Two is
Hmm.
people were asking that how come a restaurant by Jasleen is not a Kashmiri restaurant? So you can take them one by one. So how did folk
Hmm.
happen first? Maybe we can get into that.
So actually, folks started with the idea of a Kashmiri restaurant, and the first pop up that I had was at WTF uh,
Yes.
in
You know,
Warsaw.
yes, yes.
And since then, the team there and Prashant Palat, who runs
Mm,
WTF, and I've been reaching out to him through my entire food journey. I've been reaching out to him, updating him on what's happening and when can we do this, how do I do that. He's been my bouncing board. So he's
you
seen
know.
my journey, and I've been very comfortable sharing and problem solving and ideating with him. So
He's
he
a
reached
lovely
out.
person. Like even Sneha speaks a lot about Sneha
Huh.
Senapati and other people.
Yeah, and they do a
Speak
lot of
about,
pop-ups
yeah,
at
like,
WTF.
yeah, they talk about how he's quite, mentoring
Yeah,
and yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I kept also, kind of telling him, that, do you think I should move out of my home kitchen now? Do you think I should do this now? And he kept giving me advice or certain parameters as to when the next step should be and all of that.
Mm, mm,
And by this time, the 3 years or the 4 years lockdown and everything, I had almost done all of that. I had done the pop-ups. I had actually gone out of the home kitchen, and I ran a cloud kitchen as well. So all of
yeah,
those boxes were also
I
checked.
understand.
So
Yes.
I think this was the next stage, and then he was ideating with someone on opening something, and he suggested to them that we could do Kashmiri. So we built an idea around that and everything, and but then suddenly we found this space in Kalaghoda, which is now Folk, and somehow it felt like a very central place. The pin code and Kalaghoda and everything is where it's just Mumbai, it's Bombay, and
Yeah,
it's the soul of Bombay, kind of,
yeah.
where Bombay begins
Classic,
from.
classic Mumbai.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
classic Bombay.
you had everything happening here. You had tourists
Mm,
coming here,
mm,
offices, the court, banks,
mm, mm,
people coming here over the weekend. And
mm.
that was something that
Festivals also, Kalabhara festival, where I
Kalaghoda
know
festival.
you did
Yeah,
a tea party in association with
yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So we started thinking that what are our other options? I mean, should we not stay within the parameters? That was one. And the second big reason was one of the partners in folk is Zarina Dadan. So she's a Konkani Muslim.
I
And
met her. Yes, yes.
yeah, so we had food made by her. And again, that cuisine is very, very rare. And she
Mm, mm,
suggested, why don't we add that to the menu also? So
mm.
once that idea came in, then just it never stopped. Then it was like we were in the home space and everything, and WTF, then Tanjore, then the idea from there took off, and we started experimenting with, should we add this, should we add that, and a little bit of this, little bit of that, and it just suddenly started looking like the whole India was on the menu.
True.
And from
Yes.
there, we took that idea and narrowed it down to a certain theme of how we could do that,
Mm.
which is
And
where the pre-plated
yeah.
not thali. I'll not call it a thali because a thali has many elements in it. So it's a pre-plated meal because one main element, like either your rajma or a rogan josh, is your main, and then you serve it with whatever pairs well with it. And maybe the chutney or the achar, that is again pairs well with that particular thing. And maybe a drink. In some of the meals there is also a drink like soul curry or a chas or a lassi is a part of certain. So it's a meal which goes well and is pre-plated for one.
So you have a main dish or protein, and then you have a carb like a
The
roti,
carb.
rice.
Yeah, then you have either a salad or a achar or a
Hmm.
whatever goes with some common elements that go like the papad churi, which we serve even in the beginning of every meal.
Yes.
The guests are welcomed by a little
Yeah.
bowl of
Yeah.
papad churi till they decide
Yeah.
what they want.
Well,
So,
what if they want another bowl? So,
huh?
what if they want another bowl of
Yeah, they
papad?
always end up ordering another bowl.
Yeah.
Then it's
Okay.
a
Now,
big bowl.
so how does it work? Like you have to you sit and you get one, or say if two people come, they can order two, three, and like if someone wants a bit of Rogan Josh, someone wants a bit of say the Shorshe March or this
So
thing.
what
Like,
I've
does it have to
observed
be
is
like
now,
one plate per person? Like what happens say in a buffet
so there's
or a
there's no compulsion. I mean, what I've observed is people ordering in a couple of dishes and sharing,
hmm, hmm,
and then ordering individual dishes. And I've
hmm,
also seen people just ordering a whole lot of dishes and
hmm,
sharing
hmm,
also. So it just depends on the group or the kind of, like, if two people come, they'll probably share a kebab or a pav meal or a tandoor or a grill or a salad, and then they would order individual meals.
hmm.
So two people easily end up eating. Trying out two things, sharing two, and maybe ordering two more individual portions, or
No,
sharing one.
yeah, coming to your customer base, is it more people around Kalaghoda, like the tourists and people who work there, or and also that place becomes a bit quiet in the evenings, right? I mean, so how does it work for folk?
So it's a completely mixed crowd, Kalyan. Like if you come here from Monday to Thursday lunch hours, it'll be filled with lawyers and bankers. And dinners are more people who are in the area just doing errands or just
Hmm,
like they've come here, or people who live around. And
hmm,
then weekend, you see people from all over the city. I mean, people from Powai and Thane and Navi Mumbai are coming in, reserving
hmm.
tables a day before, or
Yeah,
even
because
like
there are queues outside, no?
not really, but that must have been a,
Uh,
but yeah, weekend is quite busy and people, so there are reservations already. So,
Also, this is a question which often people wonder
hmm,
because you are doing. Yeah, first of all, to make this clear, you're doing traditional Indian food. So you're maybe
yes.
doing it in a,
So it's
slightly,
in the Indian regional meals
yeah,
completely,
yeah,
but
yeah.
we're
You're not
serving it in a
reinventing.
particular
It's
format.
just, yeah, it maybe reflects your personality, but you're not like reinventing the stuff or
No.
whatever. Maybe like
A,
a bit of
a
what goes with
few
your
twists
taste.
here and
What
there,
goes with your
like
taste? Or yeah,
very
yeah.
to stay within the boundaries of a restaurant, whatever
Hmm,
we can
hmm,
adapt to.
hmm,
Like I really wanted people to try the gravy, yakni gravy, and I also wanted them to try
hmm,
the meatball kofta, but we do the chicken
Gustava.
one instead of the mutton because
Yeah,
it
yeah, yeah.
works well with the price point of the
Uh, uh,
restaurant. It works well
uh,
with if someone wants to have it on a hot summer
uh,
afternoon as a lunch option. That's easy
hmm,
on the stomach and
hmm.
everything, and it gives them a taste of what the actual dish is. And then the actual gushtaba I've done, so Namak has now done pop-ups at Folk,
Hmm.
proper pop-ups. So we serve the whole Vazwan
So,
also.
so do you charge yourself a commission?
That's a good question. I must look into that myself.
Yeah, maybe your cat boys can represent Namak. Yeah,
The Mao,
Zizu,
at least
Mao
Mao,
and
the white
Zizu,
one.
Mao and
My mom
Zizu.
calls him the white one. Mao.
Okay, okay. No, so the reason why I was asking this is one is I wanted to
Hmm.
establish that you do sort of traditional things, and what is like your sort of age group of your audience? Like, do younger people like Gen Z or the younger part of millennials, like early 30s or late 20s, are
Hmm.
they interested in this, or do you see more like family oriented or like the 30 plus audience? Because people want to know. Like who? I mean, is today's audience really interested in, um, our Indian food? And you'd have a
So
great handle on that.
there are colleges around also, Kalyan,
Mm,
and
mm.
so we do get Gen Zs and the young crowd here, but they eat differently.
In
So
what sense?
they just, I think, walk in without knowing about the place. Some of them have really researched the whole menu and everything.
Mm,
They know what they want. So those are the
mm.
foodies who are really interested in food. And some are just in the area in a group and they see this place that looks nice and they walk
Yeah.
in. So they pick what they want to eat at that particular time. And but then I see that an interest also. So then by the time they're leaving, they tell, oh, we're going to come back with our family. I think my mom's really going to like this place also, or this and that,
So
and
you
all
got
of
Gen
that.
Z getting the mums, dads into
Yeah,
into
yeah,
having
yeah,
ghar ka khana.
yeah.
How did you manage so many cuisines? Because people feel that okay, I can do my stuff very well.
Hmm.
But of course, when you're sort of running a business or a company, like you also know that you have to go
Hmm.
beyond your comfort level. So how did I mean? Some of course the Konkani came in from your
Hmm.
partner, but how did
Hmm.
the other stuff? How did because you did a Bengali shosheli, you did. Then
Hmm.
there was
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
that aloo tikka from Dehradun and stuff. So
The
how do you
Kasauli
manage all?
tikki pav.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
some dishes have, come out of maybe
Then there's a
travel.
Goan prawn curry,
Uh,
and yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
how do you do
So
all of that?
I think by eating, so firstly the team is a bit diverse. So the kitchen team, I have a lot of Bengalis, so that helps. So that zone is taken care of, and then so I've also traveled. So in travels, when I was writing down certain ideas, I thought of things that were unusual, that sounded nice to me. We jotted down and we researched on them, and we so from literally from July, August 2022 till December, we were doing the food trials at WTF or, wherever we could, even at my place or if
You
I
never
was
called me.
traveling.
You never called me for those, for the
I,
trials.
because we just
You-
trust me,
yeah.
Kalyan.
Uh,
You eaten at folk, you don't want to get into that. If you were like we
the
started
trial
from what all we started, it was
till the
it's
final
another
form. Yeah,
story. It's
yeah,
another Zoom call altogether. The trials of folk.
yeah. क्या कहते हैं BTS behind it, which is also now a
BTS.
Korean band, as I figured out. Once I'd written
Ah,
BTS,
a
and
very
someone's mother
popular one.
said, "Yeah, is this a Korean band?" So I said, "No, it's behind the scenes." Yeah, yeah. So you were saying you did a lot of trials,
So
and
the
then
menu was quite extensive when we started, and then we started narrowing it down in terms of taste, in terms of flavor profile, in terms of variety, in terms of what is easy to maintain in a restaurant constricted manner, what could stay in how keeping the technical aspect of the restaurant in mind. Also, the dishes had to work, and then there were certain dishes we just had to have. So we had to come to a sort of negotiate within ourselves at times to keep certain things to we had to really say bye to certain things we really wanted, but we thought we'd do it later. And I
hmm,
did do some stuff later, and there's still some things I want to do that we would. And every region is so diverse and so huge that people still come in and tell me, oh, आपके पास यहाँ का तो कुछ है ही नहीं, हैदराबाद का नहीं है अभी,
hmm.
महाराष्ट्रन क्या है, ये
Odisha का
वो
क्या है?
तो
The people get possessive.
exactly. So
Yeah,
yeah. So
yeah,
while
yeah.
we did have initially many things, and many things
Hmm.
are so similar now. So a
Yes, yes.
curry is something that is there in every region. So
But
all the
people will
curries
not,
started.
everyone will think theirs is unique. So, for example, there are
Yeah,
a lot of dishes which are common in Orissa, Bengal, Assam,
yeah.
home,
So
Bihar.
this dessert,
But
the
we'll
neer
all no,
dosa
no,
sweet.
like ours is not the same
Yeah.
as that.
So the
But
sweet
I
neer
like
dosa.
sometimes travel. Gone to
Uh,
Assam, I've gone to Orissa, to Jharkhand
hmm,
to see what the differences are.
hmm.
Often there aren't that much differences. I know I can be crucified for that, but yeah. So,
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
so like the curries, every region
Hmm.
has a curry. Rajasthan, Maharashtra, Punjab, and
Hmm.
most of them are base is the same. So
Hmm.
you have to pick your dish in the
ये
end.
मत बोलो. This
And
is like you'll get trolled. Okay, so now tell me, like people like you, how the way you had started
no,
up.
but I'll give you one more example, like the
Please.
sweet neer dosa that we have at Folk.
Hmm.
Now it's something that I had never eaten before, and I just came up with it because we were pairing the neer dosa with some meals, and I just thought, why not have a sweet stuffing into it, like a coconut and jaggery, because we were experimenting with another dish, and neer dosa was there. I just paired it up, and it became a roll, and we called. I didn't have any name for it then. And then everybody kept telling me, like the Bengali cooks told
Party
me,
Shapta.
Pati Shapta. Then,
This is cultural appropriation.
yeah, and then Goan, they have a
Yeah,
thing. Then the
yeah,
Konkanis have
yeah,
another dish
yeah.
that is the same. So a little bit of here
The
and there,
Goan
but
pancake that they have the pancake which is
yes,
they have on
yes,
Shrove Tuesday, which is
yeah,
similar.
yeah,
Plus, there's another dish. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
तो वो कोंकणी कौन सा डिश है जो है नीर डोसा के जैसे मीठा वाला हाँ हाँ so like it's there in every region. Something similar is already exists. Even like when you see certain ghavne, it's called ghavne.
Garne. Yeah, yeah,
हाँ,
yeah.
so Goa, Konkan,
Yeah.
Bengal, they already
Assam,
exist.
Assam,
Yeah, Assam.
yeah.
How could I forget Assam?
Odisha. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, now,
yeah.
see, there would be people like you who love to cook, who've taken a bit of a foray into, say, maybe being a home chef and all that, and then they have considered, well, everyone says that, you cook so well, you should open a restaurant. Or you said, okay, I've maybe tried this, maybe I should open a restaurant. So, a bit of pros and cons from you for running a restaurant, which you'd like to tell people like you, you know.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
What are the highs, first of all, of running a restaurant?
So when you've been a home chef, I think the biggest high is you get to meet your diners face to face.
When you have a restaurant.
Yeah, when you have a
Huh.
restaurant, you get to
Hmm.
interact with them, and you get to
Hmm.
suggest, and you get to tell them about the dishes, right there and then, and you get to hear how they liked the dish or not right there and then. So I think that's the biggest high, because when you're a home chef, it's just phone calls and
Yeah,
messages,
yeah,
or the Instagram
yeah.
tags and
Yes,
everything.
yes,
And
yes, yes.
sometimes you've not even met them or see
Mm.
them, face wise. There's no association.
Sometimes
So I
people are
think,
polite and they say that, it's nice, but you can then see
yeah,
the real expression of
yeah,
joy.
yeah,
No, I don't want to scare people off, but what
huh,
are the things which people need to keep in mind in terms of the difficulties? I'm sure
yeah.
every difficulty can be overcome. You have,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
what is it that people should be prepared for when they're opening a
So,
restaurant or in partnership or whatever or
see,
alone?
so the biggest difference between being a home chef and a restaurateur is that you have a space that you're running, and there are many jobs associated with that one restaurant. So when
Mm,
you're a home chef, you probably have two or three people working within that home, and they may
mm,
also be doing other things. So they're not
mm,
only dependent on that
mm,
home business. And
mm,
that home business has the biggest benefit of being run in a home. Whereas when you move out into a space that you've rented out,
mm, mm,
there's a set of expenses that you have to meet month in and month out. That
mm,
so every day becomes starts from scratch. Ke aaj how much sale is there gonna be, because that adds up to the end of the month, where you have that monthly
mm,
what you call DSR, daily report, that you
mm.
get every day. At the end of the day, it was very scary for me initially, when you would get that report in the end of the day. I was like, oh my God, is this going to happen every day? I will really look at this figure and realize how good or bad my day was.
Yeah.
But then I realized it becomes a pattern. So if you're
Mm,
consistent and if you're doing everything right, then it just somehow just goes on in a
mm,
system and a pattern and a rhythm.
mm,
But yeah, but that every day is a fresh day is
mm,
something
mm,
that I've learned, and that is something you have to start living with, because
mm,
unlike a home kitchen, you cannot say कि आज मैं 10 दिन की vacation में जा रही हूँ. So my home kitchen is shut. You know, when you get an order, you can easily say, you know, I'm back after 10 days. But here, those 10 days, the restaurant has to run
Yeah,
every single day. So you have to look at
I
business
mean, you
from
have to be
that
like a
aspect.
mask, or like even
Yeah.
in noon, I was speaking with Chef Vansika because she goes on
Hmm.
a lot of these scouting trips,
Ah.
from Kashmir
Ah.
to,
Hmm.
Konkan to Korea.
Hmm.
So she said, I have to, like, my restaurant has to run. So I have to make
Yeah.
sure that.
Yeah, yeah.
So what
So
you're saying is
exactly,
that,
so that, so also you have to start trusting people who are running
hmm,
that restaurant when you're not there. So
leave control,
building
leave
that
control.
team, leave control, because you're a
Hmm,
one-man show when you're running a home kitchen, you know.
hmm, hmm,
So getting to trust other people, building that trust and that confidence in them, and
hmm,
inculcating principles also of how you run by also in them, that this is how it is going to be. The quality is
hmm,
supreme, and
hmm,
then this, and
hmm,
then this. What is
hmm,
most important? What cannot be sent at all? What is
hmm,
non-negotiable? All of
hmm,
those things you have to inculcate in that team. So
hmm,
once you've done that, that is when then you have that area, that space to, you know, experiment also and learn more things about. If you're running everything yourself, then you're not growing, and you don't not learning things of how to move and grow within that
hmm,
industry. It's a
hmm,
new
hmm,
industry for me. So if I don't
hmm,
eat out, if I don't see what others are doing, if I
hmm,
don't sit
hmm,
down with a pen and a paper and see what can I do next, if
hmm.
I'm just cooking all the time, then that is not the purpose of the
Yeah.
restaurant.
Also, the way you look at finances would also change, right? Because it'll become more complex, the calculations, the variables. Like cloud
Yeah.
kitchen is up to a point. Restaurant, you will also have serving staff. In today's
Hmm.
day and age, you'd need a fully functioning air-conditioned toilet. Sometimes we need
Hmm. Hmm.
even valet parking. There's so many
Hmm. Hmm.
elements to your
Maintenance.
cost
There's
of listing on
maintenance.
Zomato.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Then there's maintenance. There's things going wrong. Lots of
But
things.
possible, right?
BTS. BTS.
Possible, right?
Yeah.
Because then people feel that okay, like cooking is theek, like a woman can do, but all this admin,
Yeah.
finance. So, what
Yeah.
is
You know,
your opinion
so
on
most
that?
of the time I'm doing that. So most of the
Uh,
time I'm problem solving. You know, we're
uh,
limited staff.
uh,
Suddenly, two, three
uh,
people leave in a month.
uh,
You know,
uh,
looking for staff. Okay, they're not
uh,
there. Then you're actually, you know, standing in for them. So
uh. So,
suddenly
so
you're
you,
in the service.
uh, so you don't
Sorry.
you don't subscribe to this notion that women are okay in the kitchen of the restaurant, but the other part they can't. There's so many chefs now, no? There's like
Hmm. Hmm.
Vanshika, so
Hmm.
many
Hmm. Hmm.
chefs around the world. So I think that notion is changing. What would you think?
Yeah, so it's changing, and that's the way. If you're running a restaurant, then your awareness, your knowledge, your skill sets have to move beyond the kitchen, because
Hmm,
cooking is then just one aspect where you're tasting and maintaining and
hmm,
creating new recipes. But
hmm,
the other aspect of it, the service aspect of it, you know, interacting with the guests to
hmm,
understand whether how they're taking in what you're cooking also, you know,
hmm,
good or bad. Most of the
hmm,
time it's good, but sometimes the bad becomes really important, because
hmm,
that gives you ideas and insight into what to
hmm,
do next, how to change it, what is not working. And so we look out for those more than we look out for the good. I mean, the good motivates and is always good to hear, but
but
the good ideas always come out from the bad sometimes. And then there's of course the admin aspect of it, the like I said, the problem solving part of it, because so many things happen on a daily basis. Of course, Zomato, Swiggy, the deals, how to do this, the marketing, what to do on Instagram, what not to do, you know. And in terms of events, what can you do, what are your low hours, like evenings, how do you fill in your evenings,
hmm,
should you
hmm.
change your menu, all of that. How often should you change your
Pricing,
menu?
pricing, pricing is
Pricing.
such a big thing. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to come into because you're talking of invention and innovation. So the last part I'm going to speak
Mm.
about is what's happening in next in folk. But I'm just going to take a mini break, which you'll empathize with because my cat Baby Loaf is sitting here and his feeding tree is, is empty. So just give me 2 seconds.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm back and Loaf has been fed or he's eating. So
Mm.
tell me what's next, Jasleen in folk.
So I think something very organic that I had always kind of thought I would do when there would be a restaurant was, have other home chefs come in and do their pop-ups, because it would be a full circle doing that, and now finally interacting them, and also come as a home chef. I knew what I wanted to do so much more than just a pop-up. So putting all those
Mm,
ideas into that, we're finally taking off and doing a home chef series of pop-ups. And
mm,
we begin in May with the Assamese with Chef Geetika. Everybody knows her. I mean, she was one of the pioneers, one of
mm,
the
mm.
initial first home chefs I
I
think that
think
I knew of.
I think she's the first home chef whose
Yeah.
food I'd eaten as a home chef. This
Oh.
thing, I'd gone to her house. She was the first.
Huh.
Yes, yes.
So the first food event I attended was an FBI event, and she was the
Mm,
one part of the panel, and I had not
mm,
even started then,
mm.
So but
She's a
then I
part of
knew that.
Foodocracy For Her. Also, we've interviewed her. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
I've seen that. Yeah, so we'll be celebrating Bihu with Geetika. So in May, and
And I believe
now
you're going to Kargil. You've joined the army or what?
no, no, no. That's still not out of that catch is still not out of the box. But
Okay.
yes, now
Yes,
on
yes.
Foodocracy for Her, Kalyan will be breaking the news that
Is it some state secret?
no, no, no. It's an honor. So there's a trust called the Tropicalist Trust that runs in Kargil. This Madhavi Peters is the founder, and I've known her for a while now through Instagram and her work, and she's followed my work. So she reached out to me saying that if I would like to curate and create some products in collaboration with the ladies that the army supports, and they want to
Wow.
include these products in a hamper that's going to be distributed on Vijay Divas in July. So of course I said yes immediately, and now we're going May end. I'm going, so that's a big deal, and I'm
Wow.
really looking forward to that.
And you're actually sort of, there's a Foodocracy For Her story because you're going to enable the local women with a very
Amen.
sustainable
Yes,
sort of effort as well,
yes, yes.
production. Wow.
Yeah, I
So,
think that so it's another milestone in my journey actually, because this is something now that's part of that uh, part where I can finally use whatever I've learned also and go a
uh,
step forward and
uh,
uh, do this.
I was smiling because something just struck me.
Huh.
Uh, you are a bit like who was the lady who did the K serials? You would know better.
Ekta
Yeah.
Kapoor.
तुम भी like because you did Kashmiri food, then you opened a restaurant in Kalaghoda. Now you're going to Kargil.
Oh my God! And I'm having a conversation with Kalyan.
Yes, yes, double
Oh,
K, double. So that's
okay.
5 Ks. Super. So Jasleen, I think that what you've been doing is like really fabulous. You've had a very exciting life, and I'm sure that like a lot of people would be inspired by what you're doing. And guys, if you've not eaten at Folk, see, if you've eaten at Folk, I'm sure you'll be going back many times. But otherwise, you should go there. It's in Kalaghoda. It's like, the classic Bombay, like I said. And, you can get some classic Indian food in a sort of cafe-ish format, I would say, or like a modern format sort of
Yeah,
restaurant.
it's casual dining. So
Yeah, casual dining
yeah,
sort
yeah.
of stuff. You can also look up Namak and look at it for catering
Hmm.
things. And if you need some advice on being a cat parent, I mean, Jasleen took in two, kittens, and then she's growing, rearing them. So, yeah. So,
That's another part of our one
yeah,
more
how to be
common
a
thread.
working mom with two naughty boys. I think that, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So thanks, Aslin. Thanks so much for talking to us.
No,
And
thank you, Kalan. It's
yeah,
always a pleasure talking to
yeah.
you, and
Thank
you've
you.
always been that. Now you know the journey.
Yeah,
You've been part of the entire process also.
that's
So
my
you've seen,
pleasure.
yeah.
And if it's possible and allowed, please post pictures from Kargil.
Yeah,
Whatever's
yeah,
whatever's like allowed. Would love to see what's
yeah.
happening there.
For sure, for sure. Really looking forward to that also.
Super. All the best for the future.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thanks.
Kalyan.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.